Hello and welcome to Legalese. My name is Vincent Perryman. I'm a local attorney with the law offices of J. Vincent Perryman. Each month, Legalese focuses on a wide range of legal issues and topics. Today's show covers gun laws. With us now is Patrick Stegall, Memphis attorney. Patrick, thanks for being with us. It's one of these that I know that you're the go-to guy kind of in the area as far as any time somebody wants to have any discussion of gun laws and things like this. But it's a pretty broad topic. It's a hot topic.
Yes.
So what gun laws do we have out there?
In my practice, I deal a lot with criminal defense. So that can include illegal possession. Of course, it can include violent crimes like aggravated assault or murder or attempted murder. One area that I see a lot actually is people who accidentally bring their gun into the airport. It happens more often than you think. And it's an honest mistake, but it's a strict liability crime. And there are laws that say if you bring it in, even if you didn't mean to, forgot your gun was in there, it's strict liability. So just bringing it in is enough to be charged.
And then I guess there's the other spectrum of it as far as the laws in regards to carry permits and what you can have and what you can't have as far as suppressors. And then we've got gun trust and things like that. So,
right. The carry permit is pretty straightforward. If you want to get a carry permit, there are a couple of gun ranges around here that will teach you and take you through the course and help you with the paperwork. And then gun trusts are a very specific area that I practice in, and that does not have to do with criminal aspects, usually, hopefully, if everything is done right. But gun trusts are an interesting area, a very niche area. It's a combination of estate planning and federal firearm laws. To really understand gun trusts, you have to go back to 1934 to the National Firearms Act, a federal law created that regulates the use and possession of really special guns. These are legal in most states, but you can't just walk into a gun store and buy one. I'm talking about machine guns, silencers or sound suppressors, short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns, and a few more obscure items like pen guns and cane guns. Like I said, you can own these, but you can't just buy them over the counter. You have to go through a lengthy registration process with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. You have to get their permission. You have to pay them a $200 tax per gun. In most cases. In some cases it's less, but mostly $200. And then they will register it and approve you and send you your paperwork, and you're free to have it. That's the basic registration of one of these types of guns. A gun trust is an alternative to that where it's not registered in your own name. Because let me go back here. Registering in your own name under the NFA means only you can possess it. The law says you cannot transfer it to somebody else. That's one of the strict requirements of that law. It can't just be given, it can't be sold. Each time it changes hands, it's a transfer, has to go through ATF each time. A gun trust kind of gets around that. If you set it up as a trust, the trust itself actually owns that weapon. Anybody listed in the trust as a trustee may possess it. So families may jointly possess it, transfer it between themselves. If you want to set up a trust, put your family or your best friend on it, you can let them use it. If you're going out of town, you want your wife or your best friend to keep it for you, then that's perfectly legal in a trust. And you also list beneficiaries. That's who receives it. Because if you register it in your own name and you die without a will, who knows where that gun is going to end up? Somebody can easily break the law. But with a trust, you list your beneficiaries, you know who it's going to, they can keep it, and it can even be a multi-generational trust, and it keeps getting passed down to your descendants.
So, when I talk about trust, I'm always looking at revocable trust, which you can do revisions to, and then irrevocable trust. On the gun trust, how is that set up?
All of mine are revocable. I think setting up one irrevocable would really limit you. But with a revocable trust, you can add more weapons into it.
Okay.
Of course, because most people do. They start by buying one, and these are very special, very unique weapons, and they're kind of like rabbits. They tend to multiply. You get one, and you want another and another. So you can always add more into the trust, and then if you have more children, you can add them as beneficiaries. You can add more family members. You can take somebody out. I've had clients realize somebody's not eligible. they need to leave the trust, or a divorce happens and a settlor wants to remove his or her spouse from the trust.
Or I guess you might have a situation where one of your children commits an assault or something, winds up on probation, so they can't have access to any firearms. So I guess they're going to have to come off then.
That's right. It can happen.
And then the other flexibility with that, I would suppose, is once that the main trustee of that trust passes away, the successor trustee is able to then name other beneficiaries of that trust and things of that nature. So it's pretty flexible.
Yes.
That. So how does it interface with state law?
Well, it depends on the state. Tennessee, there are no limits on NFA weapons. Mm-hmm. You can own, all the ones that I described: machine guns, short-barreled rifles. So, there are no limits in Tennessee to those types of weapons. There are in some states. Some states will allow some NFA weapons, but not others. A couple states don't allow any at all. And then, of course, the laws of the trust laws of that state have to be taken into consideration. Tennessee has, I think, very favorable trust laws. You can make them flexible. You can make them multi-generational.
Yeah, we actually have one of the best unified trust codes in the nation, because out west you always hear about people doing Alaskan trusts because they're very flexible, and it turns out ours are just as flexible. So with all of that, on those, I guess the one question that raises my mind is how are the different weapons defined under the NFA?
Like I said, there are suppressors, silencers, machine guns. A short-barreled rifle is a rifle with a barrel of less than 16 inches. If it's 16 inches, you can buy it over the counter at your gun store or sporting goods department. Less than 16, you have to go through the ATF because it's considered an NFA weapon. Shotguns, it's 18.5 inches is the cutoff for your barrel length. So those are the different types. Does that answer your question?
I think so. I mean, really, to me, it sounds like it's more of your tactical weapons that are either going to be more of a military weapon or something that you would see law enforcement have.
Yes.
Things like that. Because the one thing that kind of I was law enforcement, so it made me sort of think about this when I was doing it. With the long barrels, you can't clear a house and come around corners properly.
Yes.
And things like that.
Many gun owners like the short-barreled rifle for home defense because, like you said, it's good in close quarters. And also, if you add a suppressor, that's even better because if you're shooting, if you have to defend yourself or your family indoors, shooting off a round will do some damage to your hearing. A silencer will help out.
Yeah, and the with all of this, it's interesting because right now, we're hearing all of this of what can the government regulate and what it can't regulate, and we've got less than a minute left in the segment, so I guess that's probably where we should go in the next segment is kind of what regulations there are that they're able to do, and then what gets into that whole gray area where we're going to go challenge it constitutionally and things like that. And it's really kind of an interesting area overall because you think about it either in the criminal aspect or in the legal ownership aspect, and kind of you've got an intersection of all of those. But we'll get into that more when we return. When we return, we'll continue our discussion about gun laws. Please stay with us.